So now what does the seller settlement agent do? The seller settlement agent gets a copy of the contract and opens a file. Once finance is approved and the buyer settlement agent or the real estate agent advises the settlement agent that that is the case, then the seller settlement agent will get an appointment to act signed by the seller, will get the seller to sign what is called a discharge of mortgage. Now, a discharge of mortgage means that you're telling the bank that you're selling your property, and the bank will ask you, well, what you want to do with the proceeds. So let's say you're selling for 600,000 and your mortgage is 400,000. You can either pay the whole amount to the bank and they'll keep it in a mortgage account until you need it to buy another property, or you can tell the bank, and that would be called collecting full proceeds, or you tell the bank they can collect the amount required to discharge the mortgage and you want a check for the balance, or you want it paid into the account. So at settlement, your settlement agent will collect the 200,000, the bank will collect the balance. Your settlement agent will collect the amount due to the real estate agent and pay the real estate agent, and they will bank your check into your bank, or you can go and collect it. So the documents the seller will sign will be initially the appointment to act, which is the agreeing of the fees, and the appointment, the authority to act, authorizing the settlement agent to liaise with the seller's bank and the seller's real estate agent. You'll sign a disbursement authority, which will basically duplicate what you're doing with the bank, but that one's to the bank, this one's to the settlement agent. The settlement agent will then act in accordance with your instructions, and then when the buyer settlement agent sends the seller settlement agent the transfer of land, then it's signed by the seller. Now, what we do at Chartier Legal to save this issue, we actually get the seller in with all the other documents and get them to sign. And we actually fax the disbursement, I beg your pardon, the discharge of mortgage to the bank so that we know we've done it. Because if you take a copy or the original discharge of mortgage to a bank, they'll probably come back and say it's lost or something like that. So if you're using a settlement agent and you're taking the discharge of mortgage to the bank, you need to make a copy and get the person you give it to sign it and their name. So you've got proof of the fact that you've given it to the bank. Then what will happen is that the discharge of mortgage will go to the bank. They'll prepare their discharge documents. The seller's conveyancer will send the transfer of land back to the buyer's settlement agent after you have signed it. Now, as I spoke earlier in these series of videos about verifying the identity, as the seller, you need to have your identity verified, and there are two ways this can be done. You can either do it by going into your settlement agent or solicitor's offices, and they'll make a copy of your driver's license or passport and verify you, or you can go to Australia Post and they'll verify it. There is a fee payable to Australia Post for verifying you, and as I've said to you, I think it's really important to go and deal with someone you act, because if you're making a will or you're buying a TV, you normally do it in person and you wouldn't do it remotely, as has been the way settlements have been done. And I reiterate what I said earlier, that when you're doing your conveyancing electronically, you're going to have to sign an authority with the seller settlement agent or your settlement agent confirming the authority. Now, the problem is documents can be lost in the post or intercepted, and I'd rather go in. This is my personal opinion, and I know it's going to be controversial, but I believe if you're giving a client service, you're doing it properly. So then what happens is that we've spoken about the buyer settlement agent buying the, booking the settlement in. The seller settlement agent will then get directions from the seller's bank as to how much is owing on the mortgage, and the seller would have given the buyer I beg your pardon, the seller would have given the seller settlement agent a disbursement authority as to where they want the balance of the funds paid. So the seller settlement agent will send the buyer settlement agent the amount that they want payable to their trust account, which would be their fee and the real estate agent's fee, the amount payable to the bank, and any other payments that the seller wants made.